All right, we're recording. Good evening to everybody. We're officially started. The first item that's on the agenda is the introduction of a new member. On my screen, she's, let's see, right next to my window here. Chris Ballerini has just been appointed by the board to serve on our group. Chris, if you wouldn't mind, could you give us a few words and music about you and your background?
Well, sure. Hi, everybody. I am Chris Ballerini. I have spent the last, I would say, about 15 years in TV and in front of a camera, but have experience with content and messaging and visuals and how messaging is perceived by an audience. I've spent time on the stage as well, but not as much. I'm more comfortable these days in front of the camera, where it's more intimate for myself, and I feel like I have an aversion to memorizing lines these days, so it just causes me more stress than it's worth. So I was excited about the possibility of joining the group from that aspect. Like, let's see what content we have on there, what messaging are we putting out to residents, and I thought that I could add some value in that capacity.
And Chris used to be on the marketing committee with me at Town and Country Players.
Yes, that's true.
Aha.
Aha.
There is a connection then.
Mhm.
And we have,
All right, well, welcome aboard. And I'm the things you're talking about are all things that we are thinking about. As a matter of fact, we have an item down the agenda that's kind of right up that alley. So you'll recognize it when we get there.
Great.
First order of business then would be to approve the meeting notes from our January meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look at them, and anyone have any comments?
No, I move to approve the minutes as drafted.
Okay, is there a second?
second,
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jean and Dave, for writing them.
I would be abstaining from that vote since I wasn't on the committee yet.
Right,
The one abstention.
so four and
4 and 1.
okay. Another order of business was the item that came up in last month's meeting, which was a discussion about the proposed new township community center, community recreation center. The committee in that January meeting, as you will recall, discussed a series of about 10 questions, came up with the committee's view of what those answers would be. And Art Zapolsky agreed to be the spokesperson who would talk to the consultant and convey our answers to them. I believe that has happened.
Yes, sir, it has.
Art, if you could fill us in briefly
Sure.
how that went. You didn't hang up on the guy, or
No.
anything to worry about?
No one threw lumps of coal at each other. Everything went very, very well.
Good.
The meeting went off as scheduled last Tuesday at 4:30 in the afternoon. Ryan Kennedy was in the background. I spoke to Ken. He was the one that I had my discussion with. It really ran along the lines that Jean outlined in last month's minutes, almost verbatim, really. The first thing we went over was on the first question, and how can the new community recreation center project intersect with the roles and capability of the board of our committee? And then what I kept stressing, and that was my theme from coming from the committee, was we're there to help after the parameters of the building is defined. But I did make the point that we wanted to make sure that we had the infrastructure that was necessary to service that building, and using the experience that we had with the new building that the township has. And the one thing I said was we wanted to make sure that we had expandability that was modular, whatever construction they would put into it, that it was expandable, that every room would have the capability of having audio and visual. And then also, if it would have a gym, also I mentioned to them the issues that we were having with the main meeting room on proper design and making sure that it was capable of projecting sound correctly, that something can understand and also be mic'd correctly. I also pointed out that several questions that they asked were going basically to residents and not really something we could answer. Specifically, the questions, I'll just give you the numbers 3, 4, and 7, which had to do with the type of facilities or amenities we were to have. That was number 3. Number 4, what kind of what's important to Parks and Recreation, and number 7 is that anticipate the potential revenue sources. I said that's not really our bailiwick, and but we would be kind of on the back end of that. What I did also mention is that if they had anything outside the building or exterior, that we should have some type of connectivity with that. If they were to have some kind of connectivity between the main building and this, that if they were, for example, to dig a trench and put in communication lines, that we should have some say in that and what we should be needing on that. And the biggest thing that I was trying to tell them was that we're here to help after the design is put in on what needs to be done. The one thing that we did not specifically discuss, but I kind of knowing where we wanted to be, they asked what kind of extra space which we as the committee would want to have, as TAB would want to have in the new facility, a room, a space, or something else. And I said that something close to or similar to what we have in the main building would probably be a good idea for any communication equipment or any video equipment that could potentially have. The next thing that they ask is that what priorities should the township have? We think the township have in the development of the new community center. I said something between medium and high, and I was asked a question on why. I said because I think that's where the township, I was putting on the priorities of what the township would have. The other thing that they ask is that what other issues and concerns regarding the project? I said for most of the information over there, because they're asking us what were the deal breakers or partnership or funding or programs or services. I focused in on the partnership aspect of it. And that is that we would want to meet with any outside sources that they would have and put in our view on what would possibly be needed at those points. The entire meeting really went on for just about 15 minutes or so, less than 20 minutes. And we were done with that. I tried to stress that what we were looking for was the equipment and the connectivity and after they came up with the function of the rooms and the purposes of the rooms, so of the space. And so I think I carried the message pretty well. I got the impression that that after their initial, very much of their initial queries that they're going to doing for the next month, that we would probably be contacted again as things went along to have any, have some input as they more solidified their plans. And that's it.
All right.
Hey, Art, did
Yes.
we talk about, and I don't remember the committee now that when you talked about income potential, I don't know if anyone would ever want to rent one of those rooms for a meeting. With COVID now, I think the whole world's rethinking how they work and working at home. So I don't know if there'll be businesses, I'm sort of stretching this, that may say, hey, I want to rent a room, but it needs certain capabilities if people are doing like a WebEx or things like that. Was any of that discussed?
Not in those specific terms. It was very, very general. They said it was like, this was like mountaintop stuff.
Right.
General
figured.
material. But my take home message to them for the entire thing is that we should have capability in every space, whatever it is. And then once they start thinking of design, they should be consulting us as to what's needed.
Perfect.
Yeah, we discussed that in the tab meeting prior to this, that the room should be outfitted. And
Right.
once we know what the functionality is, then we would be in a position to help specify what that is. But yeah, we believe the room should be outfitted the
So-
way you described.
Yeah, so and the discussion, I will tell you, was very general. And he was, Ken was stressing that, says this is the initial thing. This is very, very general on what we're doing, trying to get a big picture idea of the overall project. And then he did mention that he's continuing to talk to other committees on this, and nothing finalized has been done. It says, I think as they get into the weeds, as they start narrowing down, they'll be coming back and asking more specific information.
I believe we were the first, weren't we, Stephanie?
Not the first.
No,
No,
not the first.
not the first.
When someone beat us.
Yeah,
Okay,
but they're continuing to talk to folks.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we thank you, Art,
Right,
for
thank you.
doing that. It sounds like that round is finished and we'll wait to hear back.
Exactly. Yes, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions on any of that? Or shall we move on? All right, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is the annual report to the Board of Supervisors. This has become something very interesting this year. Thank you, Jean. If Jean's eyeballs and hands look like they're rubbed raw, it's from working the keyboard at her editing machine. We are started, and Aaron's also, by the way, Aaron's busy helping to videotape. We have collected, how many did we tape, Aaron? Six, and we had two.
We did 6 and we collected 2 that were self-done.
Yeah, 2 did it themselves. Six we taped in the meeting room and coached people through it, worked with them. I think we got a very good video product on what the ones we did. And the ones that came in, one is excellent and one is, shall we say, not so excellent. But we're
Saving that one for last.
Ed,
yeah, save that till last. Maybe we can replace it.
hey Ed, I just want to let you know I was on with the Pension Advisory Committee prior to this meeting. And I convinced Ed Denton to come to the building and be recorded, and that it can be done completely socially distanced, and that you guys are in the other room, and that he's in the meeting room, and that we would make it as safe as possible and make him feel as comfortable as possible. So Aaron, he'll look for you to reach out to him again. Okay.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
know.
actually, Brenda told me when she was here Friday that she was going to talk to Ed and tell him that this is a piece of cake. You should come in and do this. This is.
Yeah, I think he was very hesitant about it, and he wasn't really, and I know that pretty much everybody on pension's been pretty, kind of staying low, laying low due to COVID. So I'm glad he's willing to come in and be recorded. So, so we'll have another one, and I think Planning Commission, did
we
Judy,
have-
she came in? Okay.
We have Planning Commission, we have the Zoning Hearing Board, we have Parks, we have Dog Park, we have the Environmental Advisory Council, we have Bike and Hike,
Good.
Ways and Means, and yeah, I think that's it, right?
Where's
Okay.
the sewer?
Hmm?
How about the sewer?
The sewer,
DTMA.
water and sewer, yeah, you need Joe V to come
They
in.
don't want any
Come
visuals.
in. He'll do it. He'll come in. He doesn't have a problem coming in.
Actually, the first one in was the Zoning
And
Hearing Board.
DTMA too. You need DTMA.
Oh, we did DTMA also.
Great.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
That's awesome.
So they've they've gone relatively well. We took advantage of some things we learned over the course of the last year using this new equipment. And I think the video is pretty good. And they've all given us presentations, and Gene is busy editing away from the speaker to the presentation and back and forth. And in the case of DTMA, he's given us something like 5 or 6 or 7 other pictures and supporting B-roll type stuff to cut away to. So he'll have a fair amount of interest in his. And that tab group, they seem to have a lot of videos. Also. I don't know where that came from, but
Self-promotion, it's okay.
they're a little weird.
Yeah, they must have a really talented chair to that.
So yeah, I wouldn't associate with them. Anyway, well, I was thinking of playing for you the video portion of of the tab presentation, but I decided we'll wait till it's done, and then we'll put it up as a link so everybody can see it, and you'll see it early on. So Gene is churning away on this, and I'm not quite sure when we'll be done, but it's happening.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean.
You're welcome.
So, any questions on that, or shall we keep moving here? Programming projects, planning next steps. First one up is the coronavirus vignettes. Art, is there anything to say about that?
I don't think there's been any new material that's been produced. And I think really at this point, this idea is kind of waning, and we should wrap it up. I don't see any new items coming out of it. And I think we've been putting a good effort into it at this point, and have some nice material. If we have about a half hour to 45 minutes worth of things, I think that's good. And we should think about just as a project wrapping it up, and then putting our effort into something else.
Any comments on that? I mean, I think I agree with that.
Well, how many do we have?
Pardon me?
How many do we have?
Well, the one you have, I have 2 in the can.
Okay, the 2 you did, you were okay with. Okay.
Yeah, and I got to work on those. I'm involved in another volunteer organization, which is taking a lot of my time, and that's one reason why I haven't spent a lot of time on this. But I just think the way things are progressing, the way we're going, the major interest in it is past. So we should just look at other projects to do.
I'm not sure what the scope is for when I see coronavirus interviews and vignettes. I don't know what it is you've been doing, but are you guys doing any messaging around the vaccination? Because there's been a lot of confusion. I work up at the courthouse with the commissioners, and seems to be that their message is not getting to the people, and they're taking a lot of heat for things that are kind of out of their control. Am I in the right area or no?
No, this wasn't, the focus wasn't that.
Okay.
The focus was the people's experiences during the COVID, how it affected them. So that's what you're talking about is a whole different message.
And I think we would be amenable to doing something on in the messaging area for that, but
I'm going to ask Commissioner Marseglia. She and I were talking about it this weekend. She might have some pre-recorded. I talked to her about doing a PSA for the county, because what's happening is we're not getting the doses. We're only getting 2,000 a week. So the frustrations are getting high, but it's so out of their control. So she might have some content. So I'll circle back with her about that.
if he has any, and if we need to get it out, I mean, assuming it's of educational interest to residents, we have our websites available, and then we have our TV channel. But I think the website actually goes further than the TV channel does.
It does.
I think I
And
heard,
we've been sharing via social media, everything that the county puts out on COVID pretty much since day one.
Yeah.
They, they were doing sort of daily, weekly in the beginning, kind of waned off a little bit. And anytime they have, I check almost every night to see if they have something on the Facebook, and then we reshare what they post. And I know now a lot of it's about, getting registered and everything like that.
We also have our main
Yeah.
landing page for COVID on our website. Does
Yes.
point directly to Bucks County and that central organization.
Okay, that's great. Then I'll circle back with her. She mentioned having something. So let me check in with her tomorrow about that.
Yeah, let's see what it is.
Yeah.
I was gonna say also, I believe Joan Parlay from Doylestown Hospital also just put something out. And maybe we can piece something, because there is a lot of conversation. It's not quite our role, but people are looking for information and they all look different places, so.
And it's
you know,
so, it's so,
I don't want our staff getting the phone calls about the vaccine, but if you can point them in the right direction and say, here's what we know.
Yeah.
I guess Stephanie, you'd probably be that, be able to take that temperature to make sure.
Yeah.
Find
And
that
we-
happy medium.
Yeah, and we have, we've as Aaron said, we've put it out there. We continue to message, to go to the county, get that, to sign up kind of thing, for businesses as well. I know a lot of individuals are, kind of doing, those who are more resilient are finding their own avenues, if you will, to, through their doctor's offices or through pharmacies, things like that. One of our employees told me that they have a small pharmacy they tend to go to, and they got called and said, you want to, in the storm yesterday, and Sunday, I was like, we have vaccines if you want to come. And they're like, I can't get there in the storm, I'm like thinking, I would have gotten the sled dogs out and gone, but I would have braved it, but I get it, it was pretty bad yesterday.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of those kind of stories, like someone happened to be at the doctor's office and the other person canceled, they said, we have it, and like, okay, I'll take it, like it's
Yeah,
a
I'm
little
here.
bit of luck.
Aren't you
I think we
lucky?
should all hang out at Doylestown Hospital outside the lobby. Say, I'm ready.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
I got mine. I got mine on Tuesday.
Good.
Great.
Congratulations.
excellent.
Pfizer, Moderna, which one? Gene?
Pfizer.
Not for me, though.
But he's younger than I am.
He's young. He's young, what can I tell you?
He's younger, so he didn't get it. But what I did is I emailed my doctor's office, Central Bucks Family Practice. They get 100 vaccines a week plus 250 or something that from Doylestown Hospital, but the vaccines are given either at the hospital or at the urgent care. And I emailed them and said, hey, can you move me up on the list? I said, I'm 75 now. My God. And she called me right back and said, as a matter of fact, we're doing, 75-year-olds right now, so I'll put you in. I said, that was just luck that I wrote an email on that day.
Great time.
Yeah.
Well, good. Anyway, that's,
Yeah.
if you check with Chris with what Diane's got, that would be interesting to us.
Is there anything, you're making me think of that, Chris, is there anything from, because you had that original conversation with Jim Brexler, should we circle any of our partners, Stephanie?
Yeah, we received a letter and we advocate, he asked for the board's assistance in advocating to get more in Pennsylvania, and we did that. So we'll certainly circle back with him and see if he's reaping any benefits at the moment. Because I know they're doing their darndest to get it out to everybody as quickly as possible,
Right.
Right.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next item, which is listed as mission and vision document, aid for other boards and commissions. You could look at what we're doing for the annual report to the Board of Supervisors as one element of that, in the sense that the chairs of the various groups want to get a message out. They want to be on video. So we're helping them out by giving them a decent quality video recording. But this goes far deeper than that. And I'm referring now to the email that I sent you all early this afternoon, in which I attached 3 documents. One is a group of questions, content info questionnaire that Jenya put together for us. It's had a couple of iterations, and this is where we end up. And you'll note that this is a pretty broad gauge set of questions that would be posed to a group to make sure that they knew what it was they were trying to accomplish when they were setting out to get some sort of marketing assistance. This came out of the conversation we had from the Parks Board, where they came to us soliciting our help. And if you'll remember, Art, I think it was you who suggested that they needed to go back and get a little more specific about what it was they're trying to accomplish and who the audience was and all that. And Jenya took on the assignment of trying to codify that in some way. And so she's come up with a very interesting set of questions to ask. I contrasted that sort of broad gauge approach with a second document called Tips and for Boards and Commissions for Shooting Video Programs. Seems a little more prosaic, and it actually is. It's far more nuts and boltsy, and it's what we did a year ago. We actually presented this to the Environmental Advisory Council because they were at that time talking about wanting, and had been talking about wanting to make videos. And it was written around the notion that the township has a bunch of equipment that's available for people to use, but people don't know what part A goes with part B, and how do you go about this thing. So this was meant to be much more cookbooky, and it contains insights that Keith Peters came up with from his many years of going out trying to do these things under trying circumstances, finding things like dead batteries and getting there, and there's no wall outlets, and there's no this, and there's no that. It's the whole idea of, if you're going to get into something like this, you sort of have to get into it and think it out. And it has the same kind of goal as what Jenya set out, but Jenya is starting at a far more lofty level. This is you already figured out sort of what you want to do. Now, how do you implement it? I also sent you a third document, and this is really quite interesting. This document, called Doylestown Township Methods of Communications, came to me from Keith Peters 4 months after he had already resigned as a member of this group. And I would like you all to know, as a matter of fact, that Keith is still in touch with us. As a matter of fact, tomorrow he's liable to go and look at the recording of this meeting. It seems like he watches it after the fact, and then he sends me an email. Why did you say this? And what about this? And what? So Keith is still here in spirit. And at least while I'm on the subject, I would also like you to know that another one of our former members, Kurt Kraus, has been more active in the last month helping me than he was for the 6 months prior to that. He spent a couple hours on the phone with one of our vendors the other day. Well, we have a piece of backup equipment that we're trying to get reconfigured. And we were having some technical difficulties with it. He's the genius that understands the whole thing. And he's more than happy to help out. So we have two former members who are still in some sense available to us. Anyway, back to the subject. This gives you kind of a kaleidoscope of ways to think about this topic. But the topic of how we might provide help to other groups. But it's clear to me that people are afraid of doing their own videos. And it's also clear to me that some of them know what they want their message to be, but some of them do not. So some combination of this stuff seems useful. And it also seems to me that two of our more historic roles, one which is participating in franchise renewal negotiations, and okay, what the hell's the second one? I've already forgotten what the second one is, but both of them are, well, operating and running the TV station now that we have a professional system that can be maintained by outside vendors. This is probably less and less of a volunteer activity and more of a staff function. So, and the franchise renewals, at least in the case of Comcast, are going to come up once every 15 years. And I would dare say that there's nobody that's on this call today that's going to be involved in the next Comcast negotiation. So we really don't have to worry about that aspect anymore. So helping other groups creating video content is really moving into the center of our role. So does anyone have any reaction to all this collection of stuff?
I like it. I think it should be put into a single pamphlet. You know, make it a single document and 3 chapters. I thought especially the draft tips were really, really pithy and good, and the how to use the camera, like this is the button to push, idiot, that kind of thing is a good idea.
Straightforward idiot, yeah.
Yeah, well, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, but I think putting it out as one publication, as it were, or as it one product, it'd be a good idea. I don't see very much that needs to be edited other than to put it into a single document.
I was reading through this, and it's so thorough, it probably overwhelms anybody that thought they might want to do it. But one good thing to add to it, I think, would be if you're doing an outdoor shoot that involves a microphone, be careful of the wind noise. Because that can ruin the whole thing.
And road noise, and like think of that shoot
true.
on the bench.
Right.
Lots of good car sounds in that.
Yeah, there's not much you can do about that once it's recorded, but
You proved that with the trains at the train station.
Oh God, that was a learning curve. Next time I do something like that, I'll know better. But you got to go through that stuff to learn it. And the thing is, this is a rough guide. I mean, it's going to be people who haven't done it before. They're going to come up with short on a couple of items, but generally speaking, I mean, this is a really good guide on how to get it done. And I think it leaves the messages, look, if you have a question, call us.
Well, I think this goes a little further though. I think that part of what Jenya has done here is to bust us out of or let's say, bust me out of my engineer. Okay, you already know you want to do this, so you want to know how to put the tripod together and where does the camera fit on it. But they may not be at that point at all. They may be at the point where I need publicity. I don't know exactly what it is I want to say, but boy, I really need to have publicity. There's a lot of thought that needs to go into who you're trying to reach, what you're trying to accomplish, mean, the whole basic stuff before you even start. Maybe you don't need a video. Maybe you need, maybe you need some other form of marketing instead. And that, so it's the whole first document, the content info questionnaire, I think is designed to get to the point where you get to the first item in the tips one, which is spend a little time determining what the ultimate purpose of your video is intended to be. That's all of this first document gets you to the point where, all right, now we know what I'm trying to do. So now you're ready to be practical about it.
Mhm.
And I think we're going to end up having to do both somehow.
Ed, did
Yeah.
you share this with the park committee already, did you say? To Kathy?
I shared the tips one. I actually went and presented it to the EAC.
Uh-huh,
We talked our way through this whole document.
right.
No, I haven't shared anything else with, none of the rest of it's gone out, not until we have talked about it here.
What do you guys think if you like had the tab which talks about what the different platforms are and the questions, and they had a baby? Because that would maybe, as Jean said, it's a little overwhelming. And the draft tips is really if you're doing a video. But if you're just saying, you know what, I just want to get out that we're having Santa come into Kids Castle. How do I do it? You know what? There should be a lead in. It should be like, we let them know in October or, you know, beginning of November, mark your calendar for the date. And then we do one more time. And then, you know, like maybe there's a way. So it's people who are not marketers, but know they could be getting the information out. I don't know. I'm not the expert, you know, you guys are, but I think it is a lot of information because this isn't my expertise and it's very detailed. But is there a way to possibly, I don't know if anybody's understand, you know, identify what the platforms are and then say, okay, if it's this kind of thing, maybe you're thinking more of an Instagram thing, or maybe, you know, you can always use Instagram to complement. So if you're on the bike and hike trail and you want to tag a cool spot or a fun thing you're doing with your kid, here's how you do it. I mean, I don't know. I'm just.
Well, I
sort of
think that's
brainstorming.
what the third document, which Keith put together, talks about the various channels we have. So that is an attempt actually to
Right.
get
I wanted to,
different means.
I would like to combine that with Jenya's so you can figure out which one you're doing. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Who decides? Do they, we would,
They decide. I mean, they decide what they want to do.
yeah. I kind of like what, I think it was Art who said, put it in a document. I'm wondering if Aaron couldn't take these documents and create like an 11 by 17 brochure, you know, and dress it up a bit that, you know, how do you want to promote your event or something like that, that lays it out. And first, here's all the avenues that the township has. Then you have sort of Jenya's evaluation of, you know, kind of like, you know, are you, you know, I want to take my dog to the dog park. Well, is your dog park ready? It's kind of the same thing here. I want to have an event, or I want to promote, you know, we're not promoting our stuff, name a committee. You know, it's sort of like, well, you know, does that particular committee know all the avenues that we have available? Because they may not be going to Facebook. They may not check our Twitter. They may not go to Instagram or our website regularly, or our DTV. So, you know, here's kind of like all the stuff. Here's the questions which Jenny put together. I think that committee needs to evaluate. And then, you know, yeah, if you really want to get in the weeds and do the shoot yourself and have a video, then this is how you make, you know, this is the equipment we have available. This is how you could make your video, and Tab can help you with editing and posting it on the various platforms. So I kind of like what Art said is, can we get it in sort of a fun looking brochure?
Yep.
That is appealing and attractive, that then we can hand out to the various boards and committees And we're here to, you know, help and facilitate and answer those questions.
I like that.
I think you could certainly take the tips. The tips is like you had a pair of pliers in your pocket and you were doing camera work, let's say. I could see that being a separate document because you aren't ready for that until you've gotten through the first one, which is dealing at a far
Right.
higher level, let's put it that
Well,
way.
one thing I was thinking of, we put it in one document. Now we can have lead-in language to each section. You know,
That's true.
something to make it obvious what you're going to, how it's going to flow. Here's your initial stuff. Here's the questions to ask. This is what we're looking at. Oh, and by the way, since you've gotten through this, now here's something else to look at. And the last section or whatever, hey, this is the stuff the township can provide you when you're doing it. Here's where you go. This is what you need. I think taking the 3 basic documents as the spine, as the backbone, and then having some introductory, short, sweet introductory language, you know, to kind of head it off in boldface or in whatever, is what will tie it together and make it all flow together as one brochure.
Probably some post-it or some bullets
Yeah,
on
so
some of the
something,
things to simplify the language a little bit. Yeah.
well, but something to kind of like being a heading for each thing. Introductory paragraph, hey, here we're going to help you, here's some stuff. And here's the first things that you should be thinking about, questions, you know, boom, boom, boom. After you've had the questions, here are the tips on getting you to the point you want to go. And here's the stuff the township can provide for you. The third section, something like that, I think kind of like takes you through by the hand and doing. And if they want to skip a point and go to something else, well, they can do that because you've had your introductory paragraph that tells you what it's all about. Then they can find what they need. So they don't have to read 7 pages.
No, I think it is worth taking a crack at putting this together. I just think it has to be done right. Done right. And you don't want to give them a 50-page book.
No, but
When they really have to focus on pages 1, 2, and 3 to start.
yeah, this isn't a novel. It's a resource, and the whole thing is it's like an encyclopedia. You find the entry you need. You know.
Does there need to be a marketing 101? Like, do they know like what you would put on Instagram versus what do you put on a Facebook versus what you do a video?
Yeah, I think there's
Are
probably.
there those questions asked?
Yeah. I think we probably need to explain it, Nancy, because my guess is
We do.
that not all know. Or not.
They're
all- not
just
all-
listed here. So I
Yeah.
think that would need to be broken out a little bit.
I think you have to be careful in one respect, because the platforms we talk about today may not be the ones around for tomorrow. The ways to do it today may not be the ones for tomorrow. And you want this thing to survive 6
Right.
months from now. So you
Right.
got to be, you got to be general enough, but not so specific that you got to keep revising the thing.
I like that.
It's got to be useful. It has to have a lifespan. It's got to be useful for a period of time.
Can I ask one more question, Aaron or Ed? As a girl who just got a new iPhone 12, I don't know why I got so lucky. But they really, I know they do the video. So when you talk about cameras and tripods, can people use their phone to record for you?
I do believe we talk about this in here about how to use your phone.
Yeah. Can
It's
you-
in there. It's
You
in
know
there.
what the first rule is? You don't hold it like this, you hold it like
Yeah,
this.
no, I see it, but like, does it have to be a certain kind of phone or something at a certain level? I don't know.
Damn near any phone will work.
No, so that's
I know
the kind of
nothing.
thing. That's the kind of thing I think you want to stay away from. Because if you get so specific, you're going to keep on going edition 3, 4, and 5 within a real
Got
long
it.
time. I think general concepts and precepts, and also I think we have to rely on people's basic knowledge of technology at this point, that they know some basic things.
Okay.
And that I would think would be one of them. And maybe they don't know, hey, I can stick an earphone in there someplace, and then you tell them about that. But that might change with iPhone 13. Maybe you can't do it from that. So we got to keep it general enough.
Great.
But
It's
yeah.
great. I'm thrilled. Thank you.
We could put a little more, yeah, I would think you would. Only thing I'd be more thrilled with is a coronavirus vaccine shot, but that's a story entirely. I think that, well, let's take a crack at putting this together. Now, did I hear Aaron volunteer for that, or did I not hear that? I'm not sure. But I would think Aaron would want to work with Jenya if that would.
I'll volunteer.
I have kind of
I'm
a basic-
I'm happy to help.
When you talk about the platforms and the different social media things, are they going to be doing that themselves, or are they going to let us do it, or let the township do it?
Well, that's a hot potato, but so far we would like to have a bunch of that stuff centralized, but
Yeah, it needs to be.
yeah,
Yeah.
it needs to be,
Predominantly
it needs to
coming
be
through the
under
township.
the township umbrella to be most effective. So
And the stuff about the metrics is something that we figure out. I mean, that they can come to us and find out what I don't know. Do they need that information?
they can come to
And
Aaron.
we're the ones that are doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, they would need to know. So yeah, I agree. I think that the social media part of this that describes the channels is probably not informative enough. So I would think that would need to be expanded. But that coupled with the questioning about how to do messaging and what you're trying to accomplish, I think would be absolutely a fine thing to put together. So if Aaron and Jenny could work together on that, let's see where it gets us.
Yeah.
Do we need to do anything to protect Aaron and Stephanie in terms of timing? Like you should get a test, like, at least 3 days in advance of your event or something in there. Stephanie, I don't know. It might be something. I don't see anything in there. I'm just trying to be mindful. When Ed mentioned the hot potato, it made me think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be a timing if they're, I mean, at a minimum, people need to be working like, unless it's an emergency, like 3 months out. We need to know if they've got something. Now, I mean, stuff Park and Rec department's doing, they're planning so far in advance and putting information out and stuff like that. It's when these committees have things that they're working on and doing, and, we just have to remind the liaisons to share with staff liaisons to share with Aaron when something's going to go on, something's going to happen, to get that information to him sooner rather than later. Like, if the police have some event, like a drug take back kind of thing, let us know a couple weeks in advance and we can get that information out on our, platforms. If there's a road closure that's going to take place due to a, water main project or something, let us know ahead of time. And it's the same thing with boards and committees. If there's an event, let us know in advance and then we can be helpful and we're not, behind the 8 ball trying to put something together and get it out there. But good advice, Nancy.
Yep. All right, so let's see. I have the originals of all these documents, so I can certainly get them into your hands. And let's see where we get. But I think this is a path. This is a major path for us this year. So I would suggest this is a thread we're going to be following for a while. Any more comments on this topic? Chris, this is the one I was referring to earlier, where we're talking about messaging, and this is right up that alley. Okay,
Especially like when you have certain groups and they don't really know how to focus the message. That's what I see a lot of times, right? The Parks and Recs will come in and say, we want a piece on summer movies in the park. And then they start giving too much information where you've got to whittle it down, that whole thing. Yep, I get it. And I like the document too. I totally am in agreement.
okay. Any other comments before we move on?
No.
He says checking the gallery. No? Okay. Chamber chat videos. I better move on fast. I don't have anything to say on this because I haven't done anything since the last meeting. So I still owe the Chamber of Commerce a call to follow up on this. I haven't done it. So I'm sorry, maybe my next month I will have moved along. Next item on the agenda is the municipal authority video. Actually, having done the report to the Board of Supervisors, was kind of a dry run of that with Keith Haas, the executive director. He worked very hard on it. He wrote himself a little speech. He practiced it. He's the only one that had 3 takes. And he was the one that insisted on 3 takes because he wanted to get it right. And Aaron, I think you would agree that by the time he got to take 3, he was pretty smooth. He had really ironed the whole thing out. And he was so happy with it, actually, that now he is going on to talk about what he wants to do in a longer form video. He said, well, it's a different audience now. If you're going to put something together because you want to entice people to sign up as customers, that's a lot different than a report to the Board of Supervisors. So you need to think about it a little differently. And what are you trying to sell? What's your message? So he's often thinking about that, but I do think we'll be able to move that along in the next couple of months. He's going to talk to his board about it. And I also think we'll be able to get him signed up to be the speaker for it, because his experience on this was sufficiently positive that I think he'll come back for another one. So there's nothing more to say about that other than that doing the report to the Board of Supervisors, I think, helped us in our cause to get a longer form program. Next item is the trails and park videos. This is a theme I keep talking about trails, and park. I keep hearing around the edges that there's some desire and various elements within the organization to update our parks videos. We have a few of them. They're pretty old at this point, and it's time to refresh all of that stuff. Plus, time to get the trails version of this thing together. So as soon as we get to a point where people can, at least to some extent, start to do some sort of productions, I think hopefully by this spring we'll be able to really get into this. And I would like to engage all of you in this project. Stephanie and I and the Lausens have been ridden around in the parks vehicle shooting videos. About a year and a half or 2 years ago. Some of it ended up in the Step Onto the Trail promo that Gene edited and put together last fall. But there's a hell of a lot more that's in the can, and but not edited and not put it into any final form. And I also hear on the other side of things that there's going to be an interactive trails map. So there's a lot of ferment in this area that makes it an opportune time to re-engage on this project. I think not only will it be an interesting and informative project, but I think it would be one that will provide information to the residents that they don't have. now and help to get them engaged in it. So,
And I'm on the bike and hike, I'm liaison for that particular committee, and we are gonna move forward. I'm not sure where they are with purchasing it, but we agreed that we were gonna do it. But there'll be a way to tag on an Instagram, like a location, and tag things as well. And then you'll be able to, identify where there's a restaurant or a restroom or grocery store. So it may just end up being like an intro video, like, hey, did you know we have X number of trails? And here's a couple you can get to here or there. And then go, and then, an intro to the whole thing rather than watching people ride down particular trails, or maybe it'll be a mix thereof, but it's coming. And I'm sure the bike and hike will be thrilled to get this document because I know they want to do more. So it just may be a perfect lead in.
yeah, I agree. And we had always thought that we would start with a lead in and then we would do segments. So maybe now the segment part is lighter, but it could also be go to the interactive map, click on this segment, you get information, but maybe part of that information is a 2-minute video of some sections of it. Oh, here's what this looks like, or here's what this is, or here's what that is. You could envision this being pretty cool.
I
But-
think Aaron's getting trained in it. Did I hear that, Stephanie? Maybe kind of.
Once we have the software and everything,
Right.
yeah, I'll be trained in updating the map and everything like that. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Mhm.
It's gonna be like, that's why we need to have the Wi-Fi in the parks so we can make sure we can use it. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Okay, so that's on the horizon. School district, I don't have anything to say on that. Does anyone? Nancy, is anything going on?
Yeah, yes, sir. So I was in touch with Michael Groover. I've been trying to work with the district since September. Obviously with COVID, they've just been swamped. And I've reached out with Stephanie and Aaron. Michael Groover is the K through 12 middle school through high school music coordinator. And they're recording all their concerts. Some things teachers do, and there's all kinds of issues about, with plays. I said, is there a way that we could add some of their concerts and performances to our programming? I think of the, of our friends over at Pine Run or at Neshaminy Manor. And so besides the fact that, it's something nice to be watching when you can't sleep at 3 a.m. So I know he was working because they also have Jeff Garten, and he had already gone through Angela Lynch, who is their director of communications up at Weldon Drive. So I think he was trying to coordinate with Aaron to figure out if he had the right format, if it would even work, because he's also a teacher, so I can't add more onto his plate. But if there's a way, because he sent me something like, were you able to open? I'm like, yes. He goes, okay, because there's those different rules about what can be shared in different platforms. So maybe Aaron or Stephanie has more, but I did connect them maybe 2 weeks ago now. So I don't know if there's been any conversation with him since, or if we need to circle back. But I think, they also, he actually changed the curriculum at Central Bucks for the park so that they could be the opening act before our performances for the parks last year. And then we ended up canceling everything. So he gets it, and he's a father of 4. So I know he's excited to try and figure out something. So Stephanie, I don't know if you've heard anything, or Aaron, if anybody's talked to him or reached out to him.
I don't know, Aaron, I gave you his information. We were having some issues with some of the formatting. You were gonna get back to him.
Yeah, I haven't heard back from him yet. But we also had issues with the video itself and what it contains.
Okay.
And some copyright problems or
Yeah,
content
that's
problems?
correct. There were, one video was lifted directly from Disney's YouTube channel that was produced in December.
Yeah.
He's
and
aware of those issues. So I think he was trying to figure out what format to put it in for you.
Yeah, and I think that may have just been a sample video. I don't think it would be one that they would normally do, but I know Aaron followed up with him. So Aaron, if you can just reach back out to him tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll touch base again.
I don't know if Nancy, do you know when they would have their next like concert? Will they be doing winter?
I have
stuff?
no idea.
Like,
There may be things that are already recorded that you can just add. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know. I don't know their schedule.
Mhm. Okay. I was
I've
thinking
got-
trying to get more time.
I do know that I've had a few times I've put up some YouTube and they will,
They're right after.
they run in a logarithm and, next thing you know, a flag pops up and no, you can't do that flag, and I don't know whether it's a black mark or on your account or whatever, but they have a way of editing it out. But the whole thing is that you got to be careful. Like the other day, I was doing something for another organization and to find out they got flagged not in all countries, but in certain countries, like North Korea. Like I really don't care, but I got told, and Iran. I got told that too. I don't feel bad about that. However, it popped up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and part of the
So,
algorithm, when
yeah,
you do get flagged for that, is they do notify the copyright holder as well.
yeah. So what I'm saying is that I think any of that stuff has to be considered when putting it up on a large platform, something like YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by and large, the stuff that the students themselves do is absolutely great. But there tends to be a lot of filler in between the different events and trying to get it to a longer format video. And those are often very fresh copyright material.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and of course,
Yeah, we do have the various platforms where we pay annually because we do the summer concert. So we have like ASCAP and some others with the content. But I think we'll be okay once, they're doing original student performed videos and stuff, or they're recording their, the winter concert or the spring concert, or, the jazz band at CB West performs, that recording or something. I mean, I think we'll be okay with that. And we just have to keep reminding him that we're available and to send it. And, I know that, and I'm not the technical one here. I'll leave it to Aaron and Ed and Art to figure out like what format it needs to go in to make sure it goes up on the website, the DTV and all that. So they'll make sure Mr. Gruber has all that information.
He is a teacher during the day, so maybe
Mhm.
an email with like, these are the different types of platforms. So when he gets the information, he can sort of figure it out. He was pretty savvy. I obviously am not, but he was very savvy about all the different platforms and limitations. And he sent me one to test before because I don't even know if I could open it. And like I said, he worked closely to make sure the district and Jeff Garten would approve before they'd even contact the township. So
yeah. So
Okay.
I
Fingers
just wanted to raise it for consideration as a point.
Yeah, we've run into it occasionally on stuff that we did, but and it's a bit of a pain in the butt to deal with. And it's not you do it too often, it's kind of death on wheels. So anyway, anything else on the schools?
No.
Okay, so we'll follow that up and see where it takes us. Are there any other projects, programs that I have failed to put on the list that should be on the list? Okay, hearing none.
Gene is working on a, what do you call it? An event.
Zoom?
Yeah, the Zoom theater or whatever.
Oh, yeah, well, that doesn't have anything.
Well, no, but I just thought people might want to know what, you've got cooking.
This is the one where you're a ghost against the black background.
Town and Country Players
Here.
has what's called a, during the month of March, each weekend, there's going to be an hour-long reading of a play, and they're different plays by new playwrights. And they invited playwrights from all over the country to send in scripts, and they had a play reading committee that read, I don't know, 100 and some scripts, and they narrowed it down to 4. And so these are just like one performance only of each of those, and I think it's on a Sunday afternoon all through March. So that's what that is about. It's
So is it a free thing or?
yeah, it's free to
Interesting.
watch. Don't, you know, you can make donations and stuff.
I performed in one of those. They're really great. They're one acts and they're by up and coming.
Yeah, these are full. We have one act ones too. These are full length plays.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Free is good.
It's good. All right, thank you for that.
Yep.
All right, moving on to, is there anything to say about social media at this point? We had a pretty full report last month. One thing I will tell you that is in the board supervisors report is when we went back and looked at the statistics for the web streaming channel for Board of Supervisor meetings, we were very delighted to find that in the year 2020, the attendees per meeting doubled from the year before. Now it's not huge. I mean, so we got as high as 200 viewers per meeting, which is
Wow.
pretty high on that meeting. And it does definitely correlate to times after March of 2020. So it's pretty much really ties to the COVID situation. And so I guess people are definitely using that vehicle to check things out.
You're really starting to get into the domain of commercial radio and TV. Where really, the numbers.
Well, at 200 per meeting, that's not, I guess that's because still the average view wasn't that long. So I don't know. It's not like they sat for an hour and a half or 45 minutes, let's say, and watched the whole thing, at least not on average, but they at least went and looked at it. That's a step in the right direction. And I didn't go that many times myself. I mean, we are always going to check things, so we end up in the statistics, but I haven't been going that often that would count. Okay, then we'll talk briefly about operations. I do have a bit of an update on the acoustic remediation project. We've been working, Dave Tomko and I have been working to get the RF. We've consulted with our legal counsel, and we're convinced that we have to go through a 2-step process. One where we get an engineering contractor to give us an engineering spec, and then we'll have to use that spec to get bids. And we have to do that because we need to have specifications to support getting bids for this project, because the dollar value will be in a range where that's required. As it turns out, we're just about finished with the RFP. The RFP is expected to go out next Monday. We have been canvassing our various sources, and we've got something like 7 or 8 companies to send it to. And the way this whole thing lines up, working backwards from when we send it out, we have to give them a little bit of time to read it. We're requiring them to come into the room and sit in a room and talk to us so they can actually experience the problems. This is not something you can just read about on a piece of paper. You have to see the structure, understand what it is you can do and what you can't do, given the aesthetics of the room. So there's a mandatory pre-bid meeting, which would occur, wait a minute, I've got it here. The pre-bid meeting would be February the 26th. We were proposing to have the proposals in by March 19th, and make a decision shortly thereafter. The next Board of Supervisors meeting, assuming it was of a value that it had to go to the board, would be April the 6th, which means the outside date for awarding it would be April the 7th. Now, bear in mind, this is for the engineering specs, it's not the installation. But once we get the specs done, which we don't really think is going to take long, we should be within 4 to 6 weeks. We should be really rolling. So I think being done in the first half of this year is still possible. It's also quite possible this will come back at a dollar value that doesn't have to go to the board, in which case we can move a lot faster. I think that limit is what, $10,000, and I think it's pretty, I think it's likely it'll come back under that. So we'll see. So that has made some progress. Not enough, but it's made some.
Thank you.
Any questions on that?
Thank you for your efforts, Ed. I really appreciate it.
Well, we'd all appreciate it more if we could hear in that room, so. I'll tell you what, the one thing though, the Board of Supervisor presenters in that room who gave their videos in there, they had this nice boomy echo sound that makes their voices big, so whatever. It gave it a certain ambiance. Anyway, Verizon, how are we doing there?
I don't have anything, I haven't heard anything from Northampton, so I assume we're just status quo at the moment. So waiting on the paperwork.
Okay, so now I am really curious, which one of you has the pet bird?
I don't think it's pet bird.
That's Rudy's squeaky ball.
Oh, shit.
He has like a gazillion balls. He has one squeaky ball and he found it for this meeting too.
Okay, I forgot we're being recorded here, so.
Oh.
I broke the decorum. Anyway, I don't have anything else on the agenda for tonight unless someone else does. No?
Okay.
Well, then let's call it a night. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you and welcome, Chris, to the group. Appreciate you joining.
Yes, welcome, Chris. Looking forward to meeting everyone live when situation allows.
Yeah, it certainly would be nice.
Yeah.
Getting
That
a
would be-
lot done though. I'm really, really excited. Thank you so much. Really.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys are really busy. I'm so excited. Like, wow, you've got something cooking.
Yeah.
Good.
So it's great. It's really going to help some of the other committees that I hear. So I'm really excited. So thank you.
Mhm.
Good. All right. Thank you, everybody. See you all later.
Yeah.
Good night,
Okay,
everyone.
take care.